Welcome to the deep dive. Have you ever found yourself wondering how nations really build deep, lasting connections that go beyond just the daily headlines?
Hmm.
How do countries like India weave together threads of diplomacy, defense, trade, and, even culture into a truly enduring partnership across a vast and dynamic region?
That's exactly what we're going to try and unravel today.
Okay.
Our deep dive is all about India's significantly expanding and I'd say profoundly deepening engagement with the diverse regions of Southeast Asia and Oceania throughout 2023.
Hmm.
It's not just like a collection of events, it's really a story of intentional strategic effort. And the insights, well, they're quite compelling.
Right. So our mission today is to sift through the detailed reports of bilateral activities from that pivotal year. We're looking to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight, offering maybe a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed about the scope, depth, and some surprising facts of these crucial partnerships.
Yeah. Exactly. And you can expect us to go beyond just the facts and figures. We'll explore the why and the how behind these crucial relationships, uncovering fascinating details. And critically, the strategic implications for you, our listener, who's clearly interested in global development. It's about understanding the nuances that shape the future of this vital part of the world and India's growing role within it.
Okay, let's unpack this then. India's engagement across Southeast Asia and Oceania. It isn't merely growing in volume, right? It seems to be becoming deeply integrated across multiple dimensions.
Yes.
We're not looking at isolated, one-off bilateral ties here. It feels more like a cohesive strategic push, signaling a notable shift in broader global dynamics.
Precisely. The overarching trend throughout 2023 clearly shows that India's ties with these regions truly expanded and deepened on various levels. And this isn't accidental. It signifies a conscious and, I think, accelerating policy effort. We're seeing a deliberate move beyond just, diplomatic niceties towards substantive, ongoing collaboration that really builds enduring connections.
So when we talk about this expansion and deepening, what exactly are the core pillars? What are the key areas of engagement we need to understand to get a grip on this?
Well, we can identify several crucial pillars. First, there's a pronounced emphasis on defense and security.
Right.
That involves everything from joint military exercises to naval visits, all designed to build trust and, importantly, ensure interoperability.
Okay.
Second, trade and economy are paramount. They're driving bilateral growth, fostering innovative financial mechanisms, and striking key sector-specific agreements.
Makes sense.
Third, education and skills development are crucial, nurturing human resource development and academic exchanges. And finally, perhaps most fundamentally, are the people-to-people ties, the vibrant cultural exchanges, the growing Indian diaspora, the shared heritage that truly forms the resilient bedrock of these long-term relationships.
So those four pillars really cover the main ground.
They do. Defense, economy, education, and people. That's where the bulk of the action happens.
And how does this comprehensive, multi-pronged approach connect to India's broader strategic vision? What's the bigger why behind this intensifying engagement in the Indo-Pacific?
Well, this comprehensive approach is a very tangible manifestation of India's long-standing Act East policy.
Act East, right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which has been progressively gaining significant momentum over the past few years. It's more than just a geographical orientation. It's about actively engaging, collaborating, and contributing to the region's prosperity and stability. India sees itself as an indispensable partner in shaping a free, open, and inclusive Indo-Pacific.
So it implies India isn't just watching from the sidelines.
Not at all. This comprehensive engagement implies that India isn't just a beneficiary of regional stability, it's an active contributor. It's fostering economic growth and security, which in turn elevates India's global standing as a responsible and influential power. It really speaks to a vision of shared prosperity and security, moving away from unilateralism towards robust multilateral cooperation.
What I find particularly striking about 2023 is the sheer volume of high-level engagements we saw. It feels like a significant uptick in diplomatic intensity, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. The frequency and sheer number of these top-tier interactions are incredibly significant.
Why so significant?
Well, they're not just symbolic gestures. They establish robust frameworks for cooperation and ensure that momentum is maintained across a broad spectrum of issues. When leaders meet consistently, it signals a strategic priority and enables, quicker decision-making and problem-solving. Yeah. Which is vital in a fast-evolving region like the Indo-Pacific.
Let's delve into some of those prime ministerial engagements then. Starting with Australia, we saw the first ever India-Australia annual summit in March 2023 in New Delhi. That was new.
Yeah. the first annual summit. But then things got even more interesting.
Also,
The Indian Prime Minister made a subsequent visit to Australia in May 2023. Now, this makes him the only Indian Prime Minister to have visited Australia twice.
twice in one term or twice ever?
Twice, ever. Which truly underscores the unique deepening of ties and the mutual commitment.
That's quite a statement.
It is. And during that May meeting, both prime ministers called for elevating their comprehensive strategic partnership to even greater heights. Plus, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese showed consistent engagement. He participated in the G20 summit in New Delhi in September, and then again in the G20 virtual summit in November.
So, sustained focus there.
Definitely. It tells you a lot about the priority placed on this relationship.
Okay, beyond Australia, what about engagements with other key players? Indonesia, New Zealand, the Philippines, Singapore, Vietnam. Were they also seeing this level of attention?
Yes, we saw high-level attention across the board, really. With Indonesia, the Indian Prime Minister attended both the 20th ASEAN-India Summit and the 18th East Asia Summit in Jakarta in September. Those are key regional forums.
Right.
He also met President Joko Widodo on the sidelines of the G7 Summit in Hiroshima back in May. For New Zealand, there was a meeting with Prime Minister Chris Hipkins during the FIPIC Third Summit in Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, in May. That's a really important gathering for the Pacific region.
FIPIC, yes. We'll come back to that.
We should. With the Philippines, a brief but significant interaction occurred between the Indian Prime Minister and President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. at the ASEAN-India Summit. Singapore's Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong visited India for both G20 summits, emphasizing their close partnership. And with Vietnam, there were important bilateral talks between the prime ministers on the sidelines of the G7 summit in Hiroshima, and again during the UNFCCC climate conference in Dubai in December.
Wow. Okay. So multiple touch points at the very highest level.
Exactly. It truly demonstrates the priority India places on these diverse relationships across the region.
Now, beyond the top leadership, ministerial dialogues and established frameworks are crucial, right, for maintaining consistency and depth. Can you elaborate on some of those?
Absolutely. These are the mechanisms that keep things moving day to day, or at least year to year. The 2+2 ministerial dialogue between India and Australia is particularly significant.
The 2+2, right, foreign and defense ministers.
Exactly. It brings together both the foreign and defense ministers from each country. It was held for the second time in November 2023 in New Delhi. This integrated approach allows for genuinely comprehensive and strategic discussions on everything from geopolitical challenges to military cooperation. It signals a deep level of trust and alignment.
And India only does this with a few countries.
A select few key partners globally, yes. It's a mechanism for holistic strategic partnership. Additionally, the 14th India-Australia Foreign Ministers Framework Dialogue, the FMFD, was held in November 2023. Another robust platform for reviewing cooperation.
And what about things like joint ministerial commissions, JMCs, and foreign office consultations, FOCs? How do they fit into this diplomatic mosaic?
They're absolutely critical. JMCs are platforms for reviewing the entire spectrum of bilateral relations and for signing important documents, ensuring continuity and progress. In 2023, for instance, we saw the 18th JMC with Australia, the 6th with Malaysia, the 5th with the Philippines, and the 18th with Vietnam. These are regular, structured engagements.
Keeps things on track.
Precisely. And foreign office consultations, the FOCs, also occurred widely across Brunei, Laos PDR, New Zealand, Singapore, Thailand, and Samoa. These consultations are essential for the diplomatic machinery, to fine-tune cooperation and address specific issues at a more operational level.
It's also interesting to see parliamentary engagements mentioned, with Australian and Indonesian delegations visiting India for things like the P20.
Yes.
This indicates a multi-layered approach, doesn't it? Going beyond just the executive branch.
Indeed. Parliamentary exchanges add another dimension to the relationship. They foster understanding and cooperation among legislative bodies. This helps create a broader base of support for bilateral ties and signals a deeper, more, let's say, democratic engagement that involves different facets of governance.
And then there's India's initiative with the Voice of Global South Summit, VOGSSS. This wasn't just a regional event, was it? It really seems to highlight a broader ambition.
Oh, far from it. India hosted the first VOGSS in January 2023 and the second in November 2023, both virtually. These summits saw participation from leaders and ministers across a wide array of countries, including Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos PDR, the Philippines, Timor-Leste, Thailand, Vietnam, and numerous Pacific Island countries.
So a really broad reach.
A very broad reach. This initiative strongly positions India as a leader for global development, amplifying the voices and concerns of developing nations and fostering South-South cooperation. It demonstrates India's commitment to multilateralism and its growing role as a kind of bridge builder between different parts of the world.
And speaking of regional initiatives, the FIPIC, the Forum for India-Pacific Islands Cooperation, that had a particularly significant moment last year, didn't it?
It absolutely did. The India-Papua New Guinea jointly co-hosted FIPIC Third Summit in May 2023. That was a landmark event.
Why a landmark?
Because it was attended by heads of states and governments of all Pacific Island countries. This clearly underlines India's deep commitment to this vital region under its Act East policy. This forum is a crucial mechanism for addressing the unique challenges and development needs of these island nations, which, let's be honest, are often overlooked by larger global powers.
Okay, let's shift our focus now to defense and security. This is clearly a critical pillar, particularly with Australia, as you mentioned, but extending widely across the region. How has this cooperation manifested itself, and what does it tell us about the trust being built?
Defense and security cooperation is indeed foundational. It's built on shared strategic interests and a collective vision for a stable Indo-Pacific. And it's not just about military hardware. It's fundamentally about building trust, enhancing interoperability, and developing collective capabilities to respond to regional challenges.
Right. Let's delve into the joint military exercises, which are often the most visible signs of this cooperation. There were quite a few notable ones in 2023.
Absolutely. With Australia, India participated as observers for the second time in a large-scale military exercise, Talisman Sabre, from July to August.
Observers, okay.
Yes, which demonstrates a growing level of engagement and observation of advanced military operations. But even more significantly, India participated in Exercise Malabar. Now, Malabar was hosted for the first time by Australia from August 10, 2022. That marks a major milestone in quadrilateral defense cooperation with the U.S. and Japan.
The Quad exercise, right. Hosted by Australia for the first time. That is significant.
Very. And then you had the regular bilateral exercises like Eusendex in August and Osterheim 2023 from November to December, further solidifying defense ties. These exercises are crucial for harmonizing operational procedures and building confidence between forces.
Okay, beyond Australia, what about other countries in Southeast Asia? Were there similar exercises happening there?
Yes, definitely. With Malaysia, India participated in the Lima exercise in May, which is a major aerospace and maritime defense exhibition and exercise. We also saw the successful conduct of the 35th Indo-Thai Coordinated Patrol, highlighting consistent maritime security efforts.
Or PAT, yeah.
Exactly. With Singapore, the Simbex exercise took place in September 2023. And importantly, India and Singapore signed the Submarine Rescue Joint Standard Operating Procedures, the JSOP.
Submarine rescue. That sounds quite advanced.
It is. It showcases highly advanced cooperation in a very specialized and critical area. Shows real trust. The Philippines also saw increased engagement. There was maritime partnership exercise in December involving INS CADMAT and the inaugural India-Philippines Maritime Track 2 dialogue.
Track 2 being more informal.
Typically non-governmental experts, yes, fostering dialogue. And with Thailand, the first bilateral naval exercise between India and Thailand took place in December, alongside other engagements like the Indian Coast Guard's Praneeth Sagar Abhiyan and a pollution control demonstration. So a real mix of activities.
Seems vital for building that mutual understanding and capability.
Absolutely. And ensuring regional maritime security.
The naval deployments and port calls also seem like a crucial way for India to project its reach and demonstrate commitment. What were some of the most significant moments here in 2023, particularly, I heard, with India's submarines?
Ah, yes, the submarines. One of the most impactful developments was the visit of INS Vijayar, India's Scorpion-class submarine, to Australia in August. This was a truly historic deployment. It marked it as the farthest that an Indian submarine has ever traveled to any part of the world.
The farthest. Wow, what's the strategic message there?
Well, it's profound. It demonstrates India's growing naval capability, its endurance, and its commitment to contributing to maritime security far beyond its immediate neighborhood. It subtly redefines what neighborhood means for India's strategic planners. And it signals to other regional players a willingness to contribute to security far from its traditional waters. It could potentially reshape maritime partnerships in the broader Indo-Pacific.
Interesting. And wasn't there another submarine first?
There was. Ines Sintugasari made the first ever port call by an Indian submarine in Indonesian waters, again, highlighting India's expanding maritime presence and cooperation, particularly with a key ASEAN partner like Indonesia.
So submarines going further afield. What about surface ships?
Numerous Indian Navy and Coast Guard ships made significant port calls throughout the year. For instance, the Indian Coast Guard ship Samudra Pereridar visited Cambodia and Malaysia. Large Indian Navy destroyers like INS Delhi and frigates like INS Sapura made port calls in Cambodia and Vietnam. Vessels like INS Kavarati visited Malaysia, and training squadrons engaged with Malaysia and Thailand. It was a busy year for the Navy and Coast Guard in the region.
And these aren't just courtesy calls.
No, not at all. They involve training activities, interactions with local navies, deepening maritime partnership exercises, all contributing to regional security and stability by fostering direct relationships and joint training.
And what about high-level defense exchanges and policy cooperation? Are we seeing a move beyond just exercises to deeper strategic alignment?
Absolutely. These higher-level engagements are equally critical. We saw frequent visits by chiefs of Army, Navy, and Air Force from both sides, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, Thailand, Timor-Leste visiting India, and Indian chiefs visiting them. India also hosted the Indo-Pacific Army Chiefs Conference, IPCC, in New Delhi. That's a major regional gathering, facilitating high-level strategic discussions.
Policy talks, too.
Yes, in terms of policy and industrial cooperation, the 8th Defense Policy Talks and the 3rd India-Australia Joint Working Group meeting on research, industry, and material cooperation were held. That points to future defense innovation and collaboration. And a major development in defense industrial cooperation was the opening of a Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, HAL, office in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
HAL opening an office abroad.
Yes. It signals India's intent to become a defense exporter and partner, rather than just an importer, a significant shift.
Beyond these specific agreements, India is also deeply engaged in capacity building in the defense sector across the region. How does this translate on the ground?
That's right. India provided customized training courses and gifted arms simulators to Cambodia, for example, significantly enhancing their defense capabilities. There was also an experts working group on military medicine in Brunei, indicating a willingness to share expertise in highly specialized areas like battlefield medicine.
And new mechanisms being put in place.
Yes, such as the signing of an MOU on enhanced maritime cooperation and a standard operating procedure to operationalize the MOU on exchange of white shipping information with the Philippines.
White shipping information, that's about commercial traffic, right?
Exactly. Sharing data on non-military commercial vessel movements, the white or lawful traffic at sea. This allows both countries to build a clearer real-time picture of maritime activity.
Which helps identify threats.
Crucial for identifying unusual patterns and enhancing overall maritime security cooperation. So these diverse forms of engagement build tangible capabilities and foster long-term, trust-based partnerships.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly to the economic engine driving these relationships. So we've seen how diplomatic frameworks and defense cooperation lay the groundwork, but to truly build enduring partnerships, you need a strong economic engine, right?
Absolutely.
How are these relationships translating into tangible trade and investment? And what does this mean for cross-border opportunities for businesses and individuals listening?
This is where the rubber truly meets the road, as they say.
Yeah.
Strong economic ties are fundamental to the resilience and sustained growth of these partnerships. And we've seen concrete examples of trade expansion across the board. For instance, Indonesia continues to be India's largest trading partner in the ASEAN region.
Largest in ASEAN. What are the numbers like?
Bilateral trade reached a significant USD 38.84 billion in 2022-23. That's substantial.
Definitely.
Trade with the Philippines crossed the USD 3 billion mark in 2022-23, and Thailand's bilateral trade reached USD 18 billion in 2022. These figures clearly demonstrate robust and growing economic interdependence, creating a fertile ground for businesses and investors.
And what about the platforms that facilitate this crucial economic dialogue? Are they keeping pace?
Yes, the joint economic mechanisms like the India-Australia CEO Forum and the various joint ministerial commissions we discussed earlier are absolutely critical platforms. They bring together business leaders and government officials to identify opportunities, resolve issues, and chart future cooperation, ensuring that trade and investment flow freely and efficiently.
Now, here's something truly innovative that caught my eye. The focus on digital connectivity and modern trade settlement. The UPI Pay Now linkage with Singapore got a lot of attention. Can you explain its significance? This seems like a glimpse into the future of international finance.
Well, the virtual launch of the UPI Pay Now linkage in February 2023 was a groundbreaking development. And you're right, it's a peek into the future. This isn't just another payment system, it's India's first cross-border real-time payment systems linkage.
First ever for India.
First ever cross-border real-time link. Furthermore, it's apparently the world's first such linkage to feature cloud-based infrastructure and participation by non-bank financial institutions.
Wow. So what does that mean practically?
In practical terms, this means incredibly seamless, real-time cross-border transactions between India and Singapore. Imagine a tourist from India and Singapore instantly paying a street vendor using their phone app, or a small business receiving payments from a client in the other country in seconds at very low cost. It's a testament to how digital innovation is rapidly driving economic integration and convenience.
That's a genuinely transformative potential. And it's not just Singapore embracing these new financial mechanisms, is it? We saw similar pioneering developments with Malaysia and the Philippines, too.
Exactly. In April 2023, an announcement was made about trade settlement between India and Malaysia in Indian rupees, or INR, in addition to other currencies. India International Bank of Malaysia, IIBM, was the first to operationalize this through a special rupee Vostro account.
Trading in rupees. What are the benefits there?
The benefits of local currency settlement are substantial. It reduces reliance on third-country currencies like the US dollar, mitigates exchange rate risks for businesses, and genuinely boosts bilateral trade by making it simpler and more cost-effective.
Okay. And the Philippines?
With the Philippines, an OU was signed for the constitution of a joint working group on cooperation in financial technology. The aim there is to facilitate partnerships in digital payments and financial inclusion. And even with Cambodia, an OU between the National Bank of Cambodia and NPCI International Payment Limited was signed just to study the feasibility of cross-border payments via UPI.
So growing regional interest in India's UPI system.
Definitely. These initiatives highlight a strong push for more efficient, localized, and resilient financial flows across the region.
Beyond digital payments, were there other specific economic agreements or initiatives that stand out and show new areas of growth?
Yes, quite a few. The institutionalization of a high-level ministerial economic and financial dialogue with Indonesia in July 2023 signifies a dedicated high-level platform for economic strategy and cooperation, covering a broad agenda.
Okay.
India also played a crucial role in regional food security by allocating special quotas for non-basmati white rice to Malaysia, 170,000 metric tons, and the Philippines, 295,000 metric tons.
That's significant, a reliable supplier role.
Exactly. Demonstrates India's capacity and willingness to act as a reliable food supplier in times of need. In the energy sector, there were terms of reference agreed for the India-Australia Solar Task Force and a task force on green hydrogen. That points to significant cooperation in renewable energy, a critical area for sustainable growth.
Green hydrogen, definitely a future focus.
And an MOU between India's Energy Efficiency Services Limited, ESL, and the Indonesia-Malaysia-Thailand Growth Triangle, IMTGT, Joint Business Council for LED lighting and green energy projects in Malaysia was also noted. Finally, the upgrading of the India-New Zealand Air Services Agreement and the ratification of a similar agreement by the Philippines are expected to significantly boost tourism and business connectivity by improving direct air links. Makes it easier for people and goods to move.
Right, making those physical connections easier too. It's clear that these relationships are about more than just governments, militaries, or even trade figures, though. They're also about the vibrant human connections and shared cultural heritage that truly form the bedrock of India's ties with these regions. This really underscores the idea that strong relationships need more than just strategic alignment, right?
You're absolutely spot on. These people-to-people and cultural linkages are arguably the most enduring and resilient aspects of bilateral relations. They create a foundation of mutual understanding and goodwill that can withstand geopolitical shifts. It's where the deep, multifaceted connections truly take root and flourish.
Let's talk about the growing Indian diaspora in these regions. How significant are they, and what role do they play in fostering these ties?
The Indian diaspora is an incredibly vital bridge. In Australia, for example, the Indian population is approximately 976,000.
Nearly 1 million, wow.
Yes, making them the second largest migrant group. Their growing size and importance contribute significantly to Australia's socioeconomic fabric and naturally strengthen bilateral ties through cultural exchange and economic contributions. In Brunei, there's a 15,000-strong Indian community contributing to socioeconomic development. And Malaysia, hosted its first ever Persons of Indian Origin Day and saw the inauguration of the Indian Diaspora-led International Business Summit and Expo, formally recognizing the significant contributions of the community there.
So they act as ambassadors.
Invaluable cultural and economic ambassadors, fostering connections at a very grassroots level.
Education and skill development are also powerful drivers of people-to-people ties, often shaping future generations of leaders and collaborators. What's happening on that front?
Well, there's a constant flow of students from India to Australia. Indian students form the second highest number of foreign-born students there.
Second highest. That's significant too.
It is. This intellectual exchange is vital for future collaboration, building long-term networks. And the first meeting of the India-Australia Education and Skill Council, AIESC, was held in Gandhinagar in November 2023, co-chaired by education ministers, demonstrating a high-level commitment. An important agreement on the mutual recognition of educational qualifications with Australia also streamlines academic mobility, making it easier for students and professionals.
And India is actively supporting human resource development through various programs too, correct? Beyond just student exchanges.
Yes, absolutely. Through the Indian Training and Education Cooperation, or ITEC scheme and ICCR scholarships. These are India's flagship capacity-building programs. For example, over 180 Vietnamese officials were trained under ITEC in 2023, enhancing their professional skills. Diplomats from Nauru and Micronesia also benefited. Under the ICCR scholarship scheme, 48 Vietnamese students availed scholarships for undergraduate and postgraduate studies in India, and similar support was provided for Pacific Island countries.
It's a long-term investment.
Exactly, nurturing skills and goodwill. Furthermore, an MOU was signed for an ICCR chair on economics at Solomon Islands National University, fostering academic collaboration in very specific and relevant fields.
Beyond education, how is cultural exchange and heritage conservation playing a role in strengthening these bonds? This seems like a less tangible but perhaps equally profound way of building connections.
It's incredibly important for building empathy and shared understanding. India's continued support for heritage conservation in Cambodia is a prime example. Work is ongoing at sites like Taprom and Priyavihir temples, helping to preserve iconic global heritage. A new project for the restoration of Ramayana murals at Wat Rajabo Pagoda has also commenced.
Connecting shared cultural narratives.
Precisely. With Vietnam, a joint postage stamp was released on the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations, and busts of Gurudev, Rabindranath Tagore, and Mahatma Gandhi were unveiled, symbolizing shared intellectual and philosophical ties. Buddhist linkages are also particularly strong. There was the gifting of Buddhist Jataka tales in comic form to over 700 schools in Thailand.
Comic form. That's interesting.
Makes it accessible. And the participation of a 40-member Buddhist delegation from Vietnam at the Global Buddhist Summit in New Delhi.
I remember hearing about the World Hindi Conference in Fiji. That sounds like a truly significant cultural event for the Pacific.
It was indeed. The 12th World Hindi Conference was jointly hosted with the government of Fiji in Nadi in February 2023. It was attended by over 1,000 participants from 31 countries. A commemorative postal stamp was also released. This event underscores the cultural depth of India's engagement in the Pacific, celebrating a shared linguistic and cultural heritage with the large Fijian Indian population there.
Any other unique cultural exchanges?
Arts and literature saw some nice moments, like the performance by a Goan folk group in Timor-Leste, apparently the first of its kind recently, and the launch of a Tamil classic translated into TikTok Pisan, Papua New Guinea's Creole language.
Bridging languages like that is quite something.
It is. And the establishment of the 13th India Corner at Prince of Songkhla University in Thailand further promotes cultural understanding in Indian studies.
And finally, tourism often brings people together more than anything else. What's the picture there, say, with Australia?
Absolutely. India has become the fourth largest tourism market for Australia. That indicates a substantial flow of people and a growing interest in cultural exchange and travel between the two nations. These robust people-to-people connections truly form an enduring bedrock of relations, fostering direct experiences and personal bonds that reinforce the more formal diplomatic and economic ties.
This really shows how India is stepping up, not just for its own interests, but also as a genuine partner in global challenges, particularly supporting our friends in the Pacific. India's role in sustainable development and addressing shared vulnerabilities seems increasingly visible and impactful.
Indeed. This facet of India's engagement, often termed India for Humanity, highlights a profound commitment to shared global well-being It's about leveraging India's strengths and developmental experiences to assist nations facing development challenges and humanitarian crises. It reflects a sense of global responsibility.
Can you elaborate on some of the practical examples of the India for Humanity program? What does it actually look like?
A prime example is the Jaipur foot camps.
Ah, the artificial limbs.
Exactly. They provide high-quality artificial limbs to beneficiaries completely free of cost. A highly successful camp was held in Cambodia, benefiting over 650 individuals. It literally changes lives. And the inclusion of Jaipur foot camps in the FIPIC 3 12-step action plan for Pacific Island countries signifies its impact and a clear intention to scale this humanitarian effort. India also continues its crucial assistance to Cambodia for humanitarian demining and victim support. That's critical work in post-conflict regions, making land safe for communities.
What about health initiatives, especially in the wake of global health challenges like the pandemic?
Well, under the Vaccine Maitri initiative, India provided crucial COVID-19 vaccine supplies to Fiji, Papua New Guinea, and Solomon Islands early on. Notably, India's gift of 10,000 doses helped Nauru vaccinate its entire adult population.
The entire adult population. Remarkable.
A truly remarkable impact for a small island nation. Beyond vaccines, essential medicines were donated to Fiji, Kiribati, Palau, and Marshall Islands, including specialized TB medicines for Tuvalu and a consignment of antiretroviral drugs for HIV patients to Fiji. And looking forward, under FIPIC 3, there are plans to set up a specialized cardiology hospital in Fiji, provide dialysis units, and sea ambulances for Pacific Island countries.
So, investing in long-term health infrastructure.
Exactly, showcasing a long-term commitment to improving critical healthcare infrastructure and access. Health ministers from Solomon Islands and Fiji also participated in the Asia-Pacific Leaders Conclave on Malaria Elimination in Delhi, and Fiji's minister attended the first WHO Traditional Medicine Global Summit in India, fostering collaborative health dialogues and knowledge sharing.
And disaster relief, particularly for the vulnerable Pacific Island countries. That seems to be a significant and ongoing area of focus, especially with climate change impacts becoming more severe.
It is, absolutely. Due to their extreme vulnerability to climate change and natural disasters like cyclones, volcanic eruptions, sea level rise, Pacific Island countries are a prime focus for India's humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, or HADR, activities. For instance, after a volcanic eruption in Papua New Guinea in December 2023, India promptly provided 17 tons of relief material.
What kind of material?
Vital stuff: water storage tanks, tents, ready-to-eat meals, sanitary items, essential medicines. This rapid response capability underscores India's role as a reliable first responder in the region, offering immediate aid when it's most desperately needed.
The India-UN Development Partnership Fund also plays a role in these efforts, doesn't it? How does that work, and what kind of impact is it having?
Yes, the India-UN Fund is instrumental. It supports numerous Pacific Island countries, including Solomon Islands, Nauru, Papua New Guinea, Kiribati, Tonga, Tuvalu, and Palau. It primarily helps them procure essential medical equipment and supplies and strengthens their health systems, particularly in response to challenges like COVID-19. A significant recent development was the field launch of the Climate and Disaster Risk Framework and Parametric Insurance Project in Fiji in October 2023, funded by the India-UN Fund.
Parametric insurance, how does that work?
It's a fascinating new tool. Instead of waiting for months for damage assessments after a disaster, payouts are triggered automatically when specific, predefined conditions are met. Say a cyclone hits a certain wind speed category in a specific location.
So faster payouts.
Much faster. This provides rapid, crucial funds right when a vulnerable nation needs them most, immediately after a natural disaster. It's an innovative solution to climate-related risks.
Very interesting. Finally, let's touch upon broader infrastructure, capacity building, and technology cooperation. Where is India making a difference there?
India is a key partner in various development projects across the region. Brunei, for example, is a partner in India's space program by hosting ISRO's Telemetry, Tracking and Command, TTC station in Telesai. That's vital for India's satellite launches.
Right.
For Pacific Island countries, under South cooperation, India provides wide-ranging assistance in community development and human resource development through ITEC and ICCR, as we mentioned. But this extends to renewable energy projects and crucial infrastructure building, like establishing 4G networks, constructing seawalls to combat sea level rise, and even setting up coral farms for environmental protection.
Practical, on-the-ground stuff.
Very practical. India also provides essential agricultural equipment, computers, and LED bulbs for schools, sewing machines, boats, pickup trucks, solarization of government residences, and even setting up soil testing laboratories. all directly supporting local communities and economies.
And in Southeast Asia, any specific tech projects?
With Vietnam, the second installment of funds, INR 18.8 crores, was released for the India-supported Army Software Park at the Telecommunication University at Nha Trang. That highlights technological assistance in defense capabilities. Lao PDR received IT equipment gifted to its Ministry of Foreign Affairs to support its preparation for ASEAN chairmanship in 2024, demonstrating practical support for regional leadership. And in the Solomon Islands, India is supporting the establishment of a Center for Excellence in IT, CEIT, at the Solomon Islands National University, providing critical skills for the digital age.
So a really diverse range of development and technological collaborations.
It underscores India's comprehensive commitment to regional growth and resilience.
Okay, while we've looked at the broad strokes and the overarching pillars, let's maybe zoom in on a few truly standout moments from these relationships. Some country interactions had specific, remarkable details worth highlighting, didn't they?
Absolutely. These specific highlights really underscore the unique depth and sometimes surprising aspects of these partnerships. They show how different countries connect in distinct ways.
Let's start with Australia again. Beyond the consistent high-level engagements, what truly stands out there as unique?
Well, beyond that remarkable consistency, the Indian Prime Minister's distinction as the only Indian PM to have visited Australia twice, ever, and doing so in quick succession within 2023, that's a significant point.
It signals real priority.
A unique level of reciprocal commitment and the urgent priority placed on this comprehensive strategic partnership. And as we said, the depth of the 2+2 ministerial dialogue, that mechanism India shares with very few nations, reiterates the integrated and high-trust nature of their defense and foreign policy alignment.
And the Pacific Island countries, there were some truly unprecedented moments there that really caught global attention, weren't there, with the awards?
Indeed. The FIPIC Third Summit in Papua New Guinea was a game-changer, and the comprehensive 12-step action plan announced by the Indian Prime Minister solidified India's deep commitment. But what was truly unprecedented were the civilian awards conferred upon the Indian Prime Minister by Papua New Guinea, Palau, and Fiji.
3 separate awards.
3 separate highest civilian honors. Papua New Guinea conferred the Grand Companion of the Order of Logohu. Palau awarded the Ibakal, a traditional symbol of leadership and wisdom. And Fiji conferred the Companion of the Order of Fiji.
That level of recognition is highly unusual.
Especially from 3 distinct nations simultaneously. It speaks volumes about the goodwill, respect, and importance attached to India's leadership and assistance in the Pacific. It's a rare diplomatic feat, frankly.
Singapore always seems to be at the cutting edge of digital collaboration and innovation. What were the unique highlights with them that demonstrated this?
Singapore truly demonstrated that cutting-edge digital connectivity with the UPI Pay Now linkage, which we discussed, a global first.
Right, the payment link.
It isn't just a technical achievement, it really showcases how 2 nations can pioneer innovative financial integration that directly benefits their citizens. Beyond that, the fact that ISRO, India's space agency, successfully launched 2 batches of Singaporean satellites, PSLV C-55 and C-56 in 2023.
2 launches for Singapore.
Yes, dedicated commercial missions for Singaporean satellites. It demonstrated significant high-tech space cooperation, highlighting India's growing role as a reliable space partner and the very advanced nature of this bilateral relationship.
And with Cambodia, there was a historical visit that seems to have re-energized long-standing ties. What was that?
Yes, a very significant one. The maiden state visit by King Norodom Sihamoni in May 2023. This marked the culmination of 70 years of diplomatic relations between India and Cambodia. What makes this particularly noteworthy is that it was the first such visit by a Cambodian king in almost 6 decades, since 1963.
6 decades?
Yeah. This visit was a powerful symbol of renewed historical ties, cultural affinity, and mutual respect, really highlighting a deepening bond that spans generations.
Finally, Timor-Leste, a newer nation in the region taking steps towards full ASEAN membership. What was the unique milestone there for India's engagement?
At the ASEAN-India Summit in September, the Indian Prime Minister announced India's intention to open a resident mission, an embassy, in Dili, the capital of Timor-Leste.
Opening an embassy there.
It's a very concrete commitment. It underscores India's dedication to strengthening its cooperation with Timor-Leste as it moves towards full ASEAN membership, and also with the wider ASEAN region. And this announcement was promptly followed by the first ministerial-level visit from India to Timor-Leste since 2018, reinforcing the seriousness and immediacy of India's commitment to supporting this merging nation. So, if we try and connect all this to the bigger picture, What does this intricate web of engagement tell us about India's evolving role on the global stage? And for you, the listener, how does this information shape your understanding of the Indo-Pacific? Because this detailed account of 2023 isn't just a list of events, it's truly a narrative of strategic intent.
It's clear that this is a deliberate strategy, as you said, not just a series of opportunistic engagements. What does that imply strategically?
Precisely. These engagements are clear and tangible evidence of India's proactive Act East policy in action. It demonstrates a genuine shift from mere rhetoric to concrete, multifaceted cooperation across the board. India is moving beyond declarations to building deep, on-the-ground partnerships. It shows a long-term vision.
So how does this firmly position India within the larger Indo-Pacific vision? What kind of role is it seeking to play?
Well, it firmly anchors India as a vital and, importantly, constructive partner in shaping the future of the Indo-Pacific region. India is actively contributing to its stability, security, and economic prosperity through all these diverse means we've discussed, from robust defense exercises to crucial development aid and cutting-edge digital connectivity. It's about India being seen as a net security provider and a growth engine in a crucial geopolitical landscape, promoting a rules-based order and a more inclusive regional architecture.
And the approach seems incredibly comprehensive, covering security, economy, culture, development. But is there a risk of spreading resources too thin across all these pillars? Or perhaps an area where this multifaceted approach still faces significant challenges?
That's an insightful question, and it's a valid consideration for any nation pursuing such a broad strategy. While the comprehensive nature is indeed a key strength, allowing for deeper, more resilient partnerships built on multiple points of common interest, it does demand significant resource allocation and coordination.
Right. You can't do everything everywhere perfectly.
Exactly. The challenge lies in maintaining momentum and depth across all these diverse fronts simultaneously, ensuring that each pillar reinforces the others without overstretching capabilities. However, the consistent high-level engagement we've seen throughout 2023 suggests a strong political will and a strategic long-term commitment to overcoming such complexities. But it's definitely something to watch.
The Voice of Global South summits and the extensive development aid really highlight a specific leadership role, don't they? Beyond just being a regional player.
They absolutely do. This positions India as an emerging leader within the Global South. The VOGSS initiatives provided a crucial platform for a collective voice, bringing together diverse developing nations. And India's extensive development and humanitarian assistance, particularly to the vulnerable Pacific Island countries, showcases a commitment to South-South cooperation and shared global responsibility. It's about leveraging its own development experience to help others, demonstrating a model of partnership rather than perhaps traditional aid dynamics.
And what's the ultimate outcome of all these frequent interactions and tangible cooperations? What kind of regional architecture is India hoping to build through all this activity?
Ultimately, these interactions build mutual trust and significantly enhance understanding between nations. When countries work together on defense exercises, facilitate seamless digital payments, engage in cultural exchanges, or provide humanitarian aid, they're building a foundation of shared interest and common purpose. This contributes to a more interconnected, resilient, and stable regional architecture. It fosters an environment where dialogue and cooperation are prioritized, which is essential for prosperity and security in the dynamic and, let's face it, sometimes unpredictable Indo-Pacific.
This truly raises an important question for us all to consider as we look ahead. As we wrap up this deep dive, it's truly remarkable to reflect on the sheer scope and depth of India's multifaceted engagement with Southeast Asia and Oceania just in 2023. We've seen how diplomacy, defense, trade, education, and those vital people-to-people connections are all interwoven to create these profound and evolving partnerships.
Yeah, from prime ministerial summits and pioneering digital payment linkages to historic submarine deployments and vital humanitarian aid, these relationships are evolving rapidly. They clearly showcase a strategic vision that looks to build a truly integrated and prosperous Indo-Pacific, reflecting India's growing role on the world stage.
So as we conclude this deep dive, take a moment to consider how these intricate webs of bilateral relationships contribute to a dynamic and evolving global order. How do these diverse efforts, whether it's an Indian submarine's farthest journey, a payment system linking two nations, or a cultural exchange of shared heritage, genuinely shape the future of the Indo-Pacific region and impact the daily lives within it? What stands out to you about how these connections are built, and what might be the next big wave in these crucial partnerships?
Staying informed about these nuanced global shifts allows us to appreciate the intricate dance of international relations and truly understand the deeper currents shaping our world. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into India's expanding horizons.